Priyanka Subramanian, please unmute your mic. A warm welcome to Dr. Nitai Saha, sir. Sir, good evening. We are so privileged to have you as the chief guest for this final session.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, sir. Dr. Shankar, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Nitai, sir. Good evening, sir.
Sir Mubendran sir, good evening.
Good
Sagar
evening,
sir,
sir.
good
Good
evening.
sir, good evening. Shankar sir, good evening.
Shankar,
Sir,
sir. Good
very
evening,
good
Dr.
evening.
Shankar, sir.
Please, sir.
Yes,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks for
A very
joining with
good
us, sir.
evening, sir.
Saga, sir.
yes.
Dr. Saga, sir. Thank you.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good
Good
evening, sir.
morning,
Thank you.
everybody. Good afternoon, everybody.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Actually, at the outset, I express my gratitude to Dr. Shankar, who has invited me to be a part of this. And to quote E.M. Foster, he has been the only connect between all of you and me. And he has been acting as a kind of bridge between you and me. And you and me have become we because of him. So, and I convey my regards to the organizers who have organized this, conference. And I'm delighted to be a part of this conference. That's all. At the outset, that's all, I think.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Professor.
much,
No
sir.
problem. So we'll have a
Thank you, Professor.
community.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Shall we start the session, sir?
Okay.
Yes, please, madam.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, sir.
Am I visible and audible?
Yeah,
Should I start?
yeah, okay, sir.
Okay.
An
Sir, please, sir.
enthusiastic evening to all the participants. On behalf of Ayanada Johnny Hemal College, I'm so glad to invite you once again for this final session of a two-day national or virtual conference on extended boundaries in English language and literature. Initiation is the way to achieve success. Let's commence this session. I invite Ms. Shavin of 3rd BA English, Ayanada Johnny Hemal College, to introduce our resource person. Over to you, Shavin.
So, happy evening, everyone. It's my great honor to introduce our esteemed chief guest, Dr. Nitai Saha, who is distinguished academician, researcher, and translator in the field of English literature. He currently serves as the Associate Professor and Head of Department of English at Munshi Premchand Mahavidyalaya as West Bengal. His vast teaching experience spans over 2 decades, during which he has nurtured and guided numerous students and scholars in literature and language studies. Dr. Saha's academic journey is exemplary. He earned his PhD in English from the University of North Bengal, where he conducted an in-depth study in W.B. Yeats' poetry, analyzing its evolution from crossway to dart. His expertise extends beyond poetry to 20th century literature, Indian writing in English, American literature, and translation studies. Prior to his doctorate, he completed his MPhil and MA in English from the University of North Bengal and earned his BA Honors in English from Tidhata College, West Bengal, where he was the university medalist. Dr. Saha began his teaching career as a lecturer in English at Dilhata College in the year 2003, where he later served as the senior lecturer in the year 2008. In 2010, he joined Munshi Premchand Mahavidyalaya as an assistant professor and was later promoted to associate professor in the year 2016. Additionally, he plays a vital role as an academic counselor for the postgraduate student at the Indira Gandhi National Open University, Siliguri Regional Study Center, and Ravindra Bharati University, Siliguri Study Center. Dr. Saha's scholarly contributions are significant. He has authored 7 books and published 24 books chapter. His research is widely recognized with 11 research papers published in reputed peer-reviewed and UCG-approved journals. He has actively participated in various academic forums, delivering 8 invited lectures and presenting 4 research papers at national and international conferences. Apart from his scholarly research, Dr. Saha is also a renowned translator. His translation work include contribution to A Green Dove in Silence, 40 prose poems in translation, and 3 translation in Poetry Out Loud, London 2021 and 2023. Dr. Nitai Saha's dedication to literary research, teaching, and translation has made a lasting impact on the academic community. His passion for literature, coupled with a deep understanding of language and culture, make him a guiding force for students, scholars, and literary enthusiasts. We are truly privileged to have such an accomplished academic with us today. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to our distinguished chief guest, Dr. Nitai Saha. Thank you, sir.
I'm sharing my screen with you.
Okay, sir.
It's not able to. Just let me try once again. Can you see my screen?
No, sir, not yet.
Now?
Yeah, it's visible, sir, now.
Okay. Let's see. Just a minute, hold on. Just a minute. Is it visible? Yes?
Yeah, it's so clear, sir.
Okay.
It's visible.
Thank you. So, this is the topic of my discussion today, the paradox of aestheticism. Is it a life-negating perspective, uh, a critical exploration? So, before I start my discussion, I would like to prepare the ground for the discussion. Let me quote the Bhagavad Gita. Karmanna karaste ma phaleshu kadachana. Actually, this phrase is derived from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 42. If we translate this into English, the direct translation would be perform your duty but do not have any expectation of the fruits or results. It speaks of being dedicated to your job for its own sake. In other words, work for work's sake and for nothing else. So, the moral that we learn from this verse is that if we go by aestheticism, be dedicated to art, not to be attached to life. Now, before I proceed further, let me quote few lines from P.B. Shelley's poem To a Skylark. Actually, what happened, whatever we do in life as human beings, there is always some hidden want, a thing wherein we feel there is some hidden want. That is why we cannot be happy. In the poem To a Skylark, the lark is happy because it has no connection, it has no attachment with the world of reality. But whatever we do, whether we sing a song or we participate in any wedding ceremony, any kind of prayer we make, there is some hidden want. And Shelley wrote, I quote, we look before and after and pine for what is not. So we are not happy with what we have. So we are preoccupied with what we don't have. Platon Brock wrote an essay, What is Art? So what Platon Brock said, that there is always a conflict between our actual experience of art and our thought about that experience. Both are different, I mean to say. Actually, the self that enjoys art is free from the dictates of chronology and causality, any cause and effect. The self that thinks about art is fettered by by those chronology and causality. Hence, it's very important. The experience of art does not parallel with the thought about art. So experience is more important than the thought about that art. That is what Platon Brock said, that there is always a conflict, a discrepancy between our actual experience of art and our thought about that experience. Platon Brock actually separates art from morality altogether. I quote, if a work of art is good to me, its goodness is not moral, but simply aesthetic. Something perceived immediately and valued for its own sake without relation to any kind of conduct. I mean to say, what I mean to say, that aestheticism is a philosophy of the now. It's a philosophy of the present. So what should be the slogan of aestheticism? The slogan of aestheticism would be the beautiful quotation, past is history, future is mystery, present is a gift, make a most of it. And when I quoted and when I referred to Shelley's poem, To a Skylark, already I quoted those lines, that we are, these lines I quoted, that we look before, that is past. We look before and after is future. So, uh, past is history. If we want to enjoy aesthetic pleasure, we should not be preoccupied with past, because past is history. At the same time, we know nothing about the future. So future is mystery. So present is a gift. I'm talking about the everlasting present. I'm talking about the now. So aestheticism is a philosophy of the now, philosophy of the present. So present is a gift. Make a most of it. That should be the slogan of aestheticism. Now, what is aestheticism? That we must understand. Now I come to the main discussion. So what is aestheticism? Aestheticism is often described as a cult of beauty, devotion towards the beauty, dedicated to the pleasure of a work of art. Meaning, it's a philosophy and artistic movement that places an extreme emphasis on the pursuit and appreciation of beauty in art, literature, and even everyday life, considering it primarily value, the primary value above any other function or moral consideration. And the slogan of aestheticism in the world of art, it is art for art's sake. All of us, we know that art should be valued for its own sake. Art should be valued for its intrinsic beauty, beauty essential to it. In order to understand what is aestheticism, we must know the difference between, means and end. This is very important. What is means and what is end? I'm just giving an example. Suppose there is a flower in the tree and you appreciate the beauty of the flower. So you are an aesthete. That means you believe in the philosophy of aestheticism. You appreciate the beauty of the flower, right? So you are an aesthete in that sense. But what you have done, what you do, you pluck the flower and put it into your lock, into your hair. So what you are doing, you are using the flower for your own beautification. That means the flower is not given primary importance. Primary importance is given to your beautification, right? So when you talk about aestheticism, so the beauty should be the end in itself, not flower. The beauty of the flower should be an end in itself, not a means of somebody's beautification. So that is the difference between means and end. So what I mean to say, suppose you were reading a poem, it may be To a Skylark or To a Nightingale, anything. When you were reading it for pleasure, when you expect that pleasure is the only reward, so what happens then? You are an aesthete. But when you reading, why you are reading? Because it's in the syllabus. Questions will come from that particular poem. So what you are doing, you are adding purpose to your study, right? You are this is very much purposive. Aestheticism is against this purposiveness, right? So we should enjoy that work of art for its own sake, for the beauty inherent in it, pleasure we get from it. So that is the point we have to understand, that the means of art should be only the means of getting pleasure, not at all, not any other thing. So the beauty should be the end in itself. Beauty should be the end in itself, not a means for something else. Now, I'm quoting uh, the narrator in Mom, Somerset Maugham, a great novelist, short story writer, and of course, a votary of aestheticism. Mom wrote a beautiful novel, The Moon and Sixpence. And I quote from that novel, the, my heading is, who is an aesthete? Who can be an aesthete? I quote from that novel, the moral I draw is that the writer, any kind of writer, should seek his reward in the pleasure of his work. Very important. So what should be so you are a painter, suppose. What should be your reward? Reward in the pleasure of his work and in release from the burden of his thoughts. When you have completed your painting, if you are a painter, so you are able to release from the burden of your thoughts, philosophy, whatever. And an artist or a writer should be indifferent to anything else. We know, all of us, art means anything. So he should remain indifferent to anything else. Care nothing for praise or censure, failure or success. There is a painter in The Moon and Sixpence. His name is Strickland. And you know what happens? Whenever he is busy in the act of painting, he enjoys that act of painting. Very important. When I started my discussion, I said that the important thing is now. Aestheticism is a philosophy of the now, the philosophy of the present. So when he paints, he enjoys the very moment of painting, right? The act of painting, that gives him immense pleasure. And when it is finished, he has got no interest in that painting. This is the thing, right? Because the act of painting is important, not after the act of painting. That is not important, right? Once it is finished, the painter has no interest in whatever he has painted. So that is the main theory of aestheticism. Now let me talk about another Spanish philosopher, Ortega y Gasset. It's a beautiful thing. Let me talk about that. We must understand this. Just a minute, hold on. Okay. So what we find in this slide, now we have a piece of portrait, Taschen's portrait of Charles V on horseback. If you are an aesthete, see the painting as a work of art. It's a beautiful point to make. See the portrait as portrait. See the painting as a work of art. If you see the man in the portrait, you are not an aesthete. When you see the portrait as portrait, what you are doing? You appreciate the beauty of the painting. But the moment you see the man in the painting, what happens? You get transported into that era of Charles V. You start judging Charles V as a king, as an emperor, right? So what is the point? See the portrait as portrait, not what you want to see in the portrait. That is important. See the portrait as a work of art. See the portrait as portrait, not man in the portrait. The moment the man is associated with that piece of painting, what happens? You get transported to the life of Charles V. That is what I wanted to say. Let me just read what I have written in this slide. In order to enjoy Tashan's portrait of Charles V, it is necessary condition that we do not see the authentic living Charles V, because this is a piece of painting, this is a work of art, not the living. It's not the authentic living Charles V, but only a portrait of him. That's when it's a work of art. It's a piece of painting, an unreal image. The man portrait and his portrait, these are two different things. Man portrayed life, his portrayed art. We need to understand this disjunction between life and art. The man portrait is life, and his portrait, that is art. So these are two completely distinct objects. Either we are interested in the one or in the other. In the former case, we associate with Charles V. In the later, we contemplate the artistic object as such. So the moment you see the portrait as portrait, you appreciate the beauty of that work of art. But the moment we, associate that man, you are appreciating his life, may not be appreciating his life. That is the thing. So what is the point? What is the nature of aestheticism? Aestheticism as a philosophy of life I am talking about. And the slogan is art for art's sake. I have already mentioned. What does it emphasize? It emphasizes beauty without any moral, social, or utilitarian concerns. What is the paradox? I would come to that point later on, of course. And aestheticism always rejects ethical imperatives, moral imperatives. At the same time, it shapes human experience. I will come to that point later on. Now, this aestheticism, foundation of aestheticism, it is rooted in German idealism. Actually, this aesthetic movement or movement of aestheticism, it actually, dates back to the German thinkers Kant, Schelling, Goethe, Schiller, and then it spreads to France. And very important, the pioneer of this French influences, the pioneer is Victor Cousin. It's called Cousin, and who is credited with this coining this phrase, "L'art pour l'art," that means art for art's sake. Then we have, British aesthetes like Swinburne, Walter Pater, Oscar Wilde, and they promoted aestheticism in their own way. That is about the foundation of aestheticism. Now, why aestheticism came into being? That is to be understood. Actually, art for art's sake movement, it is a violent reaction against the marginalization of artists in an increasingly mechanical, materialistic, industrial society. If we go through, we have all gone through, I think, Wordsworth's poem, "The World is Too Much with Us." It's a sonnet by Wordsworth. What Wordsworth wrote? Wordsworth was not happy with the materialistic taints of the people during this time. What Wordsworth wrote in that particular poem? Wordsworth said that we are preoccupied with getting and spending. Wordsworth was talking about materialistic taints of life. So much we are preoccupied with getting and spending. We get money and spend money because, also Somerset Maugham said that money is the sixth sense without which other five sense organs, they do not function. So we are preoccupied with getting, I quote from Wordsworth's poem, getting and spending, that phrase he used. So, that is why life was glorified during that time. Materialistic life was glorified. Even the world of nature did not move people during that point of time. And that is why aestheticism came into being, to give primary importance to art and artists. Actually, it is a spirited, attempt to preserve the purity of art against the onslaught of didacticism, propaganda. Some exponents of aestheticism, they suggested that art should be the supreme end of life. Now, what A.C. Bradley said, A.C. Bradley talked about, he came up with another, theory, poetry for poetry's sake. What A.C. Bradley said? A.C. Bradley's theory of poetry for poetry's sake presents it at its most refined, at its most persuasive. Bradley claims, very important, that the poetic experience is an end in itself. When I was discussing about the difference between means and end, I also told that poetic experience is an end in itself, is worth having on its own account, and it has its intrinsic value, natural value, essential value. And poetic value is also intrinsic worth alone. So poetry may have its connection with culture or religion. Poetry may also be an ulterior value as a means to culture or religion, because it conveys instruction sometimes. Poetry can soften passions or furthers a good cause. Sometimes poetry brings the poet fame, money, or a quiet conscience. But very important, its ulterior worth neither is nor can directly determine its poetic worth. So poetic worth cannot be judged on the basis of the ulterior worth it brings, but it should it should be judged on the basis of its satisfying imaginative experience. When we go through a poem, so we have that satisfying imaginative experience, and this is to be judged entirely from within. Bradley's reason for the radical discontinuity, what I am trying to say, that art has another world, life has another world. Art has its own world, life has its own world. That is what aestheticism is all about. Aestheticism does not attach art with life, right? So Bradley's reason for the radical discontinuity between art and life is that art does not imitate or reproduce life. Very, very important. What does art do? It creates a heterocosm, an alternative world. What is this? Let me explain. Few minutes ago, I was talking about To a Skylark. What Shelley did in that particular poem? Shelley's Skylark hates this world of reality. And Shelley beautifully used that phrase, that his Skylark is the scorner of the ground. So what happens? The Skylark is waiting for the dawn. And when the dawn arrives, the Skylark takes flight away from the world of reality. And the lark has left the world not to come back. Very important. So what is this? Very important. As the lark is flying, it is singing. As it is singing, it is flying. Why? Because the lark is happy, because now the lark realizes that it has no connection, no attachment with the world of reality. The more it flies, the far it is away from the world. It is able to distance itself from the world of reality. That's why the bird is so happy. So this is a heterocosm, an alternative world, an imaginative world. Because Shelley said this is, Skylark is less a bird and more a spirit of joy. Less a bird, because the bird, this is not a natural bird that we see floating across the sky. It's an imaginative bird, because a natural bird is also made of flesh and blood. Like all of us, we are all made of flesh and blood, and that's why this bird is no body. It has no body, right? Because we know that body causes suffering, but the bird lacks a body. It is no body, right? That is why Shelley said that it is less a bird and more a spirit of joy. Very important. That is why. So heterocosm means that alternative world, right? So the bird took shelter in that alternative world. Not only bird, but the creator of the bird, Shelley, took shelter, took refuge in that alternative world of the Skylark. Same thing is true of To a Nightingale or To a Nightingale. I'm talking about kids. Same thing happened. in that particular poem. And Keats wrote, "Thou art not born for death, immortal bird," because this is not a natural bird of flesh and blood, right? So what happened when we talk about poetry? Immediately, what happened? It takes us into that alternative world. Immediately, we get transported into that heterocosm, where rules of actual life do not operate, do not function. So that's why art is different from life, because in heterocosm, the rules of actual existence, they do not operate, they do not function. That is why Shelley, when we read Shelley's poem, we get transported into that heterocosm, we get transported into that alternative world. So, and the values of the real world does not function in that world, right? Operate in that invented world. It's an invented world of art. Hence, art must be accepted on its own terms. Art must be judged by the criteria intrinsic to it, natural to it, right? And essential to it. For its nature is not to be a part, nor a copy, right? Nor a copy, nor yet a copy of the real world, but to the world by itself. So it's a world, this heterocosm is a world, it is independent, no connection with the world of reality, complete, autonomous, not governed by anybody, not governed by our life. And to possess it fully, you must enter that world. It has its own laws, it has its own regulations, conform to its laws. And ignore the time, for the time being, the beliefs, aims, particular conditions which belong to you in the other world of reality. So, actually, on the other hand, Bradley's perspective trivializes art by isolating it from life. What about Oscar Wilde? Oscar Wilde's extreme aestheticism. Art is independent of ethics and reality. According to Oscar Wilde, the sphere of art, I quote, and the sphere of ethics are absolutely separate. They are distinct. Art, according to Oscar Wilde, neither copies life or nature nor reflects contemporary social reality. This goes against what Matthew Arnold said, that poetry is a criticism of life, nor even expresses the artist's personality. It is intent on pursuing its own perfection. In his formula, very important. The sphere of art and the sphere of ethics are absolutely distinct and separate. Why? It's a beautiful point. This is because emotion for the sake of emotion is the aim of art. So life is different, art is different. Art has its own aim, life has its own aim. What is the aim of art? I repeat, what is the aim of art? Emotion for the sake of emotion is the aim of art. At the same time, emotion for the sake of action is the aim of life. Am I audible? Yes?
Yes, sir. You're
Yes,
audible,
sir.
sir.
Yes,
Loud and
sir.
clear.
Okay.
You're
Just to
clear, sir.
confirm. Okay. This is because emotion for the sake of emotion is the aim of art. Emotion for the sake of action is the aim of life. I'm just giving you one example to make my point clear. What is that example? Suppose you are in the apple garden in life. I'm talking about life. So what happened when we see those apples hanging? So what happened? Emotion, one kind of emotion is aroused in you. What is that emotion? Desire of having those apples, desire to eat those apples. So what happens? That emotion, that desire is being followed by action, responsive action, because in life there is responsive action. That is why, what is the aim of life? Emotion for the sake of action. That means emotion is being followed by responsive action. You respond immediately to have those apples, because the moment you see those apples in the trees, that desire is aroused in you, how to get those apples, and accordingly you respond. So in life, that is what happens. Emotion is being followed by responsive action, but that does not take place in the world of art. What happens in the world of art? Suppose you come across a piece of painting which is a work of art. There are apples and oranges in that piece of painting. Same desire, same emotion is aroused in you. You want to have them, but you have to be satisfied with your emotion, because in the world of art, emotion is being followed by emotion, because in the world of art there is no responsive action. That is why art is different, life is different. And that is why those who believe in aestheticism, they always try to isolate art from life because of their respective aim. Next, let me have a somewhat have some water. So what happens? What Oscar Wilde is saying? Let me explain Oscar Wilde. According to Oscar Wilde, every man lives a double life. One on the plane of action, that is life. The other on the plane of contemplation, imagination, whatever. Perception generates an appropriate action in life. I have already said there is a responsive action. This radical disjunction between man's active and imaginative life. Active life is life, and imaginative life is art. Between life and art is grounded in this fact, as Roger Fry observes on this point. I quote: "What is art? Art is an expression and the stimulus of this imaginative life, which is separated from actual life by the absence of responsive action." I have already said that in art, there is no responsive action. Now, this responsive action implies in actual life moral responsibility. Sometimes what happens, there is moral responsibility. You see somebody crossing the road, an old man is trying to cross the road. So you go forward with your helping hands, because there is, because in life there is responsive action, there is moral responsibility also. In art, we have no such moral responsibility. That's why art presents a life freed from the binding necessities that bind us in our actual existence. So what I'm talking about this interplay between art and life. Art evokes emotions and influence individual sensibility. Is it possible? That is very important. Can art be separated from life? That is a very, very good question. Although, art, the kind of emotion arouses by a work of art, that is sterile sometimes, it's not fertile, it's sterile. But don't forget one thing, I'm giving an example to make my point clear. What is that example? Suppose you are watching Macbeth, or you are watching, Hamlet. What happens when you are watching Hamlet or watching Macbeth? you know when you enter into the theater, into the arena of theater, what happens? You are a selfish man. All of us, we are selfish. For example, if you assume we are selfish, although we don't sell fish. So what I'm saying, to put it very lightly, so actually we don't cry for somebody who is not near and dear ones, but without your awareness, you start crying for Macbeth. Macbeth is not our relative. Hamlet is not my uncle, but you start crying for Macbeth. You start crying for Hamlet. You are showering your emotion upon a person with whom you don't have a relationship. So what art does, without your awareness, without your consciousness, art can shape your moral character. That is what I'm trying to say. That you have decided, no, I will enjoy only. I will enjoy the moment only. That means art will have no impact on your life. But without your awareness, what a piece of tragedy can do, it can shape your character. So you have cried for Macbeth. You have showered your selfish emotions upon a person with whom you don't have any relationship. So what happens? Tragedy can make you a better person. You are lifted out of your narrow selfish interest. You are lifted out of your self-centeredness. So that is why I that is the paradox of aestheticism, my topic of discussion. It's a paradox. How can we say that art should be always separated from life? It's not possible, because art evokes emotions that influence your sensibility, individual sensibility. That's why M.H. Abrams also said that art unconsciously shapes character and culture. We cannot deny that. We cannot ignore that impact of art. Graham Harp also said that art engages moral faculties of its audience. I have already given examples. So when you entered into the theater, you were a selfish man. When you leave the theater, you become a better person. Right? What is Eliot's perspective? T.S. Eliot's perspective. Poets turns what poets they do. Poets turn experience into poetry, connecting art and life. And that is very important. What poets they do? They turn experience into poetry. They turn experience of life, connecting art and life. The pure critic is a myth. We cannot say that pure somebody is pure. No, everything is hybrid. Critics engage with art through real world perspective. Even critics, when they talk about art, they also talk about real world. They talk about they look at art from real world perspectives as well. Somerset Maugham and artistic integrity. Artists should create for self expression, not external validation. External validation is not required. According to Eliot, artists must remain true to their creative instincts, but at the same time, art retains a moral presence. Whether we can acknowledge it or not, art retains a moral presence. That's why it has its connection with life always. So what is the point? Aestheticism enriches artistic expression, but risks sterility when rejecting ethical concerns. We cannot reject ethical concerns. Art and ethics, or morality, we often say, coexist in a dynamic tension. What is the paradox? Art for art's sake may deny art's profound connection to human existence, but art has its connection with life. Because what happened, just this is the most important part of my lecture. I'm just on the verge of finishing my lecture. The end of art is not to teach, but to please, but simply to exist and to be beautiful. That is aestheticism is all about. But at the same time, be that as it may, if the work of art in question is a linguistic structure, very important. When you suppose art for art's sake, we are talking about art for art's sake. When you are reading a poem, what happened? There are words. A poem has its linguistic structure, and the meanings of the words, they have been already decided by life, because words, they get meaning when they interact with life. So how can you deny life? Because words, they have got their meanings from life. Because that is the thing. Be it as it may, if the work of art in question is a linguistic structure, it has a linguistic, it can never reach the amoral ideal. It cannot go beyond the moral. The language, which is a social medium, has ethical, moral connotations built in it. So we cannot say that art should be isolated from life. I have given some examples, right? This is my point of view. Thank you so much for being with me so long. Yes.
Now it's very clear that aestheticism is the act of enjoying the present, and art has the power to shape a man's behavior. You have given a very good and crystal clear presentation, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Dear participants, this space is now for you. If you have any questions, you may ask now.
Dr. Saha sir, it's a really fantastic presentation. We really
Thank you,
enjoyed
sir.
it, sir.
Thank you so
It was
much.
very informative as well as very, how to say, emotional also. We are really moved by your presentation, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are
Thank you so much.
really privileged, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir. There is
Yes.
a question in the chat box. The question is,
Yes.
why art is a paradox?
I'm talking about what is paradox. Paradox means what I'm trying to say, that when you talk about aestheticism, what does it mean? It means that you have to enjoy work of art for its own sake. But I have already established my point that, if is it possible that suppose you will only live, you have to live only in the now. You cannot think about the experience of that work of art. I'm just giving you one example. You are watching a movie, you want to enjoy the movie for the time being, but when it is over, you start thinking about that experience. You may, very important, but you cannot be a machine that, yes, the experience is over, I won't be able to recall it, because recalling it means to destroy aestheticism. That is why it's a paradox. It's not possible. You have to become a machine to enjoy only, to get aesthetic pleasure only, because it has this connection with life. As I have already pointed out, that it can shape your moral character without your awareness. That means it has its impact on your life. Art cannot go without life.
Good evening, sir. A very insightful lecture, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
But I
Thank
have
you.
one
Thank you.
question. Can I ask?
Yes, yes, yes.
Sir, how can art can save us from existential crisis? I know it sounds a very basic question, but it is really insightful. It's a very deep in thing. How can art help us from
Hmm.
existential crisis? Thank you, sir.
If we talk about existential crisis, first of all, you have to understand what is this crisis. Existentialism, as you know, all of us, what kind of crisis we face, what we want and what we get. That is the crisis, that is the conflict, that is the existential conflict. That what we want in this world, we do not get from this world. Very important. So, the conflict, this is the existential crisis. What is that crisis? That every man is born with certain desires, certain ambition, certain aspiration in life. But what happens? The world remains silent to your aspiration, to your ambition, to your aspiration. That is why there is a clash between your desire, your ambition, your aspiration on the one hand, and silence of the world on the other. That is why we create heterocosm, waiting for Godot, for example. Is it a pessimistic drama? Do you think it's a pessimistic drama? Not at all. I don't think. Who is Godot? Because the theme of the play is not Godot. The theme of the play is waiting, because waiting will not take you anywhere. So what they have done, both Estragon and Vladimir, what they have done, they have created a myth. They don't know he is Godot, but they are waiting for Godot. Whether Godot is a goat or anything else, they don't know. But they have created a myth, because that Godot maybe their future life, maybe their future hope, maybe better tomorrow. They don't know. But still they go on living because they have created that myth. Godot does not exist in reality. What you think about Godot is Godot. What you do not think about Godot, that is also Godot. But still, they have created a myth. That is heterocosm I'm talking about. That is art. That they have created an invented world of Godot. Godot does not exist, but still, they have a hope that Godot will come tomorrow. Godot will come tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes, you know. But waiting can be the means of survival. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And I really appreciate it when you say that thing, that tragedy makes us a better person, but it actually depends on each individual differences, how they are perceiving the things, which is really important. And thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Welcome so much. Welcome.
Sir, there is another question in the chat box.
Yes.
How would you define the aesthetics of silence?
That is a different thing. Aesthetic of silence, that is important. Silence means what I'm talking about. Silence has its own language that you have to understand. Again, one thing you have to keep in mind, that when suppose you are watching a silent movie, there is no language. Whether you are enjoying it or whether you are you know uh, taking some lessons from it, right? Whether you are enjoying that movie and whether,
Hey Ramar, please mute yourself.
yes, okay. But what happens actually, It depends on the consumer. You are a consumer. If you are a part of the audience, you are a consumer. How would you take that? That is important. That you may enjoy that moment of silence, or that that question that has been asked, or you may take some lessons. If you take some lessons, it's not aestheticism. And I said that aestheticism is not actually possible, because then you would have to become a machine. Because you are a human being of flesh and blood. Emotionally you get connected, intellectually also you get connected. That's the thing.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Okay,
much for your fruitful session, sir.
thank you. May I close?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Good evening. So,
Okay.
good evening, Professor. One question, Dr.
uh,
Sankar. Really
yes, yes,
opening session.
yes,
If you don't mind, could you please explain further on the two maxims you know very well? Art for art's sake and art for life's sake. Could you please, sir?
yes. There is an actually two things are there. I'm just talking about that. One is aestheticism is a philosophy of art. Aestheticism can be also a philosophy of life. If it is applied to the world of art, it's art for art's sake. If it is applied to the world of life, it is life for life's sake. We come across a kind of philosophy called hedonism. All of us we know. Those who are hedonists, they want to enjoy life to the full. They don't think there is life after death. So they don't have any purpose in life. So they enjoy life to the full. We know what Ulysses said, that I will drink life to the lees. So hedonists, they believe in that theory, that enjoy life to the full without any purpose, enjoyment for the sake of sorry, enjoyment for the sake of enjoyment. That is aestheticism in life, life for life's sake. Yes, Dr. Shankar.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. May I close it now?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Dr. Shankar.
Thank you, sir. Please, sir. Thank you.
Thy firmness makes my circle just, and makes me end where I began. With these words of John Donne, I invite Dr. B. Bala Mayuranathan, Associate Professor, Department of English, Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore, to deliver valedictory address. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good evening, all. I'm very happy to join with you all on this gracious occasion. Am I audible, sir?
You are audible,
Yes,
sir.
sir, you are audible, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you. Distinguished Principal Dr. C. Ashok, Principal of Anja College, Sivakasi, respected Chief Organizer Dr. M. Muvendan, Associate Professor and Head of Department of English, Anja College, Sivakasi, and eminent organizers, co-organizers from the various institutions, and my dear faculty fraternities and research scholars and dear students. I am actually very happy to be with you all here because it is an honor and privilege for me to address you all today as we conclude this enlightening and thought-provoking national conference titled "Extended Boundaries in English Language and Literature." Uh, before I start my valedictory address, I would like to take a chance to record the facts with you all. As the saying goes, great people think alike. I would say that good people who really want to contribute a lot to the students' community, researchers, or literary society will always do good. I see those people are here in the meet, in particular uh, Dr. K. Sankar and Dr. M. Muvendan, sir. Because of these two people's strenuous and sincere hard works, this conference is going to wrap up successfully. At the same time, I cannot ignore the support rendered by the other organizers due to time constraints. I haven't spelled their names individually. Sorry for that. Without their selfless extended support, this valuable knowledge sharing would have not happened. Over the past 2 days, we have witnessed an incredible exchange of knowledge, ideas, and perspectives from eminent academicians. Of course, I couldn't join today uh, because of some personal reasons and due to some health constraints. I couldn't, but still, then this conference, academicians who have joined from this various from this conference from the various part of country would have done so many things. The conference has provided a valuable platform for intellectual discourse, critical discussions, and innovative solutions that will undoubtedly contribute to the advancement of our field. So I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our all the keynote speakers who have addressed for the participants on these 2 days for their invaluable contributions. I am certain that our keynote speakers' insights have broadened our understanding and inspired us to explore new dimensions in our respective areas of research and practice. A special thank to the organizing committee, faculty members, and volunteers whose untiring efforts made this conference a grand success. From planning and coordination to execution, your dedication has been instrumental in ensuring the smooth flow of this event. To all the participants, I extend my heartfelt appreciation. I'm sure that your research presentation that you all are going to upload in the link provided by the organizers will enrich this conference, making it a truly engaging and insightful experience. As we conclude this conference, let us take with us the knowledge gained, the connections made, and the motivation to continue our academic and professional pursuits with renewed enthusiasm. Let this event not be the end, but rather, so I would put a request to all the organizers or all my friends or other the keynote speakers of this 2 day conference. Let this not to be the end, but rather the beginning of new collaborations, innovative research, and transformative ideas that contribute to our field and society at large. Thank you so much for all. Thank you so much for giving the opportunity to me. I personally wanted to thank Muvendan sir and Sankar sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Bala sir.
Saying thanks is not just words, it is the sound of our heart. I welcome Dr. K. Shankar to propose a formal vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I'm audible.
Yeah,
Yes,
sir.
sir, you are audible.
Good evening, everybody. I take this opportunity to thank everyone who contributed a lot in organizing this conference. First of all, I record my sincere thanks to the management of Iron Order Janagi Ammal College for accepting the proposal for organizing this conference in association with the Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore, Government Arts College, Paramagudi, CMC Group of Institutions, Coimbatore, Government Arts College, Thiruvadanai. On behalf of the organizing committee and consortium colleges, staff and students, I really thank the chairman, secretary, and principal in their absence. Next, I extend my heartfelt thanks to the keynote speakers, Dr. Pramilada from Reva University, Bangalore, and Dr. Ritu Sharma, Sarda University, Uzbekistan, and Dr. Tataria from Mumbai, and Nanda Kumar from Bangalore, and Dr. Niti Saga from West Bengal, and Professor Sebastian Raj from Chennai for accepting our invitation and made a presentation on various paradigm ideas. Really, all sessions were worthwhile and gained great insights. On behalf of the organizing committee and consortium colleges, staff, and students, I thank all the keynote speakers. Next, I register my wholehearted thanks to all the consortium colleges head, the Department of English, Dr. M. Muvendan, Ayanada Janayammal College, Sivagasi, Dr. Karnambige, Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore, Dr. Manimegale, Government Arts College, Trivadanai, Dr. Renuka Devi, Government Arts College, Paramagudi, for their valuable supports and steady guidance, cooperation, coordination throughout the journey of organizing this conference. Without them, the conference would not a great success. On behalf of the organizing committee and consortium colleges, staff and students, I thank you all. Followed by, I place my sincere thanks to the convener, Dr. M. Ubendan, Associate Professor and Head Department of English, Anjo College, Sivagasi, for his timely initiative, tireless works, and to conduct this national conference. On behalf of organizing committee and consortium colleges, staff and students, I thank you, sir. Next, I extend my hearty gratitude to the organizers,
ಸುಮ್ನಿರೋದು.
Dr. Balamayurnathan, Sri Ramakrishna Arts and Science College, Coimbatore, Dr. Sabariraj, the Director of Academics, CMC Group of Institutions, Dr. Saravanan, Government Arts College, Trivadanai, Dr. Ramar, Government Arts College, Paramagudi, and Dr. Sophia Rani, Anja College, Savagasi, for their toil and moil and contributions in spreading the aim of the conference and getting people across India. All of their work is really commendable and wordless. On behalf of the organizing committee, consortium colleges, staff, and students, I thank you all the organizers. And next, I thank all the faculty members of English department from the consortium colleges. Their support is wordless to explain and really appreciable. On behalf of organizing committee and consortium colleges, staff, and students, I thank all the faculty members. And finally, I register my sincere thanks to all the lettered professors, research scholars, students from reputed universities and colleges across India for their patient listening in all sessions and submission of their valuable papers as a great contribution to this conference. Without them, the conference would not a great success. On behalf of organizing committee and consortium college, staff and students, I thank all the participants. I thank all the students and other people directly or indirectly involved from day to day, from day one to today, for successfully organizing this conference. I thank you all, and thanks for the opportunity. And once again, thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shankar. Without your help, this conference would not have seen the light, sir. We are
Sir,
greatly
please no
indebted to you,
mention,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.
Please, sir, no mention.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, we
Though
can
we are
keep little instruction regarding the submission of the papers and abstract, also the presentation, and regarding the giving away the certificates as soon as
Dr.
possible
Shankar,
from
sir,
our
please share
side,
the
sir.
instructions, sir. Sir, you please share the instructions, please.
So, continuing all the participants, so regarding participation, we'll receive certificates as soon as possible from our side. For presentation, we'll share you a Google Drive link within 2 days. Kindly all of you make your own recording video as of your presentation, not more than 3 slides and not more than 5 minutes. Keep ready. We'll send you once it will reach. Then kindly upload. We'll review. Then we'll send you the presentation certificates. And coming to the publication, so it will take a minimum 3 months and let you know once it will be published. Then you will be shared a link and from which you can get the paper from the particular website. And the selected papers will be called for the review one by one accordingly. So you'll be getting a time to time notification from the organizing committee. Thank you all of you. Sir, anything else, sir?
Nice, sir. Enough, sir. Enough, sir. Wonderful, sir. So kindly be patient, dear participants. We thank you from the bottom of your heart for your active participation. Please wait, and all the instructions will be shared in the WhatsApp group only. So kindly don't leave the group. Be active in the group. We'll share all kinds of instructions. If you have any queries, please you can text us. Right? Thank you so much for your patience and cooperation. Thank you all. Dr. Shankar sir, shall we wind up?
Yes, sir. Can we leave,
Right.
sir?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much
Thank
once
you all
again,
of
sir.
you.
I thank
We'll
all the
see.
organizing secretaries from all the colleges, sir. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.